Hello, I'm retired Battalion Chief Larry Cockman from the Greensboro, North Carolina Fire Department History Book Committee. We're here today at the Greensboro Historical Museum. I'm standing in front of the General Green, the first steam pumper, or as they called it back then, a steamer. Today, December 9th, 2019, we are starting a new tradition of recording and preserving the heritage and culture of our retirees. Our retirees have contributed so much to the success of our great fire department. Their stories retire with them and are sometimes gone forever when they pass away. They will share their emergency calls that will always be a part of their memories forever. So sit back and listen as they carry us through their journey in the Greensboro Fire Department.
Okay, my name is Claude Culbreth. My nickname is Pete. I'm 67 years old. I retired with 29 years and 4 months of service, and I retired at the rank of Deputy Fire Chief. Yes, I've been in Greensboro all my life. I grew up in the White Oak community over in the Mill Village, and some people refer to us as lint heads. So yeah, I've been local all my life. I have no desire to leave Greensboro. It's a great place. I am related to, as far as family in the fire department, I had an Uncle Tom Culbreth that was on the fire department. He's retired and has since passed away. I have a cousin, Kelly Culbreth, that retired a couple of years ago. And I have two nephews, Keith Robertson and Kenny Robertson. Keith is in the Fire Prevention Division, and Kenny is on Rescue 5. Yes, I guess my Uncle Tom did. When I was a kid growing up on Campbell Street, about 2 blocks from the Station 3 it was on Vine Street at the time, it's now Yanceville Street. As a kid, I'd ride my bicycle down to the fire station. Practically spent my whole time down at the fire station. Before I joined the fire department, I was graduated from Wingate Junior College, and I was wanting to join the fire department, but they weren't hiring at the time, so I accepted a job with Henry Walk Company. It was an industrial supply business, but that wasn't where my heart was, and I knew that I wanted to be a fireman. And I didn't, you had to weigh 150 pounds, well I weighed 135 soaking wet. So I ate Big Macs, I ate half gallons of ice cream trying to gain weight. And the funny thing about it is I talked to Warren Ritter, a good friend of mine who was on the fire department and retired from the fire department. I said, Warren, we need to go put in our application at the fire department. I said, I think it's a good job. He was a plumber at the time, digging and rolling in mud and everything else. So finally talked him into going, put my application in, he put his in. They hired him, told me, you don't weigh enough. So I was determined that somehow I was going to get hired. So that's when Chief Wouche and Powell and all of them were at Central Station downtown. Well, I knew Paul Brown and Woody Parrish and Otis Sellers was up there, and I'd go by there every other shift. And matter of fact, when I finally got an interview, and everybody gave me their change out of their pockets, their car keys. My pockets were just bulging, slam full. So when I went in for the city nurse to weigh me, I weighed exactly 150 pounds. So I thought, well, if I take these keys and the change out of my pockets, what if they want to weigh me again? But anyway, I took the change and the keys out. Well, I didn't tell anybody, and I guess this might be, well, my wife knows. But I had some steel plates, and I had them cut to fit my back pocket. and I had steel plates in my back pocket. So when they wanted a urine sample after they weighed me, I thought, God, if they make me get back on them scales, or if I had to take my clothes off to do a physical or something, all that steel plates are in my pocket. So went in the bathroom, and I said, I got to get rid of these. So they were remodeling the bathroom, and they'd taken the recessed mirror out of the wall. This is great. I'll take these things out of my back pocket and drop them down in the wall. Well, that did not work out quite like I thought, because when I let go of them, they were so heavy, you could hear them hitting pipes and stuff all the way down, bling, bang, bling, bang. I said, God. But I went ahead, I had to get rid of them. So that's how I started out. And those guys, I wouldn't have made it if they hadn't come up with the idea about the changing the keys. My goal has always been to be a firefighter. Matter of fact, I received an award in 1958, which made me 7 years old, for the safety patrol. And I was a lieutenant with the fire department. And I've got one of my school pictures.
Did you bring it?
So, starting salary was $591 a month with the fire department, and I had a 2-year degree, so I started out at 5% more, which was $610 a month. Well, I just left a job that I was making $500 a month, working 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, no chance for advancement, and now I work 1 day and off 2, and I'm making $110 more a month. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. In my training class, I believe there was 13 or 14, and there was a couple that dropped out. I didn't make it through the training, but it's odd, after so many years, I remember so many that were in the class. I mean, Bob McLean, he was called Grandpa. He was about, I think he was almost 30 years old when in our training class. So he kind of kept the biddies under his wings, and Sharp Wren, Harold Robbins, Bill Smith, Bill Nelson, Harold Robbins, Raymond Holland. There's just a bunch of great guys. Well, every day was a challenge. You didn't go into the chief's office to use the telephone. You definitely didn't come to training late. And when I mean late, I'm talking about 15 seconds late. You were late. So it was very structured, but really the only challenge I had, and it's funny now, it wasn't funny at the time, but we were burning a house. Our training class was burning a house, and Chief Kent and Chief Osborne were the training officers, and I was inside, and they were getting ready needed to get the fire put out so we could light some more, and it was up in the attic. Chief Kent said, go outside, put on an air pack, get back here and see if you can get up in that roof and get it knocked down. Okay, Chief. I go outside. As soon as I go out the door, Chief Osborne grabs me. Hey, I need you to take this window out right here. I said, well, are you arguing with me? No, sir. I'll take that window out. So get me a axe, start taking the window out. Here comes Chief Kent. What are you doing? I'm taking the window out. What did I tell you to do? Well, you told me to put on an air pack and come back inside and go up in the attic. And he said, were you afraid to put an air pack on? I said, no, sir. I'll go in there in a heartbeat. But let me tell you something. I can't be in 2 places at one time. Well, when they called me in for my evaluation during training, they wrote me down. They said that I tended to be argumentative. I said, Chief, I wasn't arguing with nobody. But I couldn't be up in that attic and outside breaking out a window. I'm good, but I ain't that good. And so after that, it was kind of a standing joke between me and Chief Kent after I'd been on a while. When we were in training, they would call us in periodically to review our drill ground activities, our performance, tying knots, climbing ladders and so forth, plus our academics as far as, you misspelled this word right here, so the whole question, the whole answer is wrong. I'm thinking, I misspelled one word. I didn't miss it, but one letter, it's wrong. Well, what convinced me early on that the fire department was the job for me, it started in training because I didn't have the confidence of the pompier ladder, of any of the skills. I was scared to death for anything, and especially when the medical side of it, I think our class was one of the first or few that had any first aid training. So I got a lot of confidence and gained a new perspective. Hey, I can do this, I can be good at it, and it became where it was fun. My first assignment on the fire department was Engine 5 at Station 5 across from Hams, I believe 1716 West Friendly. Captain Jerry Wheeler was my captain. The driver was Larry Beal, and firefighter Robert Carmen. So we had a crew, and it was a good crew. We really had a good time. One of the things that really stood out about Captain Wheeler was he would take up for you. He wanted to know what was going on, but he wouldn't let anybody mess with you. If something was wrong and needed to be straightened out, he didn't hesitate saying, hey, this is not going to work. And I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot of what not to do also. So I'd take the good, the bad, and indifferent. Sometimes I'd use part of what he said or taught me, and sometimes I wouldn't use any of it. But oh me, I got several things that went on at Station 5. Wow. There wasn't much I wouldn't do. I mean, I liked to have a good time, and I was serious about my job, but around the station, I opened the refrigerator, and we had milk cartons in there, little cartons of milk, chocolate milk, buttermilk. We had a cabinet with oatmeal cookies and stuff, so I was going to get me some chocolate milk out of the refrigerator. Well, it slipped out of my hand and fell on the floor. And Donnie Barnett started laughing. I said, you think that's funny, don't you? Well, it didn't spill. It just fell out of my hand, so I nudged my foot against the milk carton and slid across the floor. I said, tell you what I'll do. You think that's funny? I said, I'll jump right on top of this milk carton, and we'll see if that's funny. He said, I'll bet you $10 you won't do it. I said, okay. I jumped straight up in the air, down on that milk carton. Well, it spewed chocolate milk all over the kitchen. It looked like 5 gallons out of that one little carton. Barnett said, well, here's your $10. He said, now you're going to have all night to clean this up, because I'm not helping you. I said, I didn't think about cleaning it up. So he got me on that, and you can ask him about the milk carton, jumping on the milk carton. So the other thing we did, Thursday was cleaning out the bedroom, sunning the mattresses and stuff at Station 5. So we'd take everything out, wet the floor down, soak it down good, take a whole box of Tide, and we'd soap it up. It was slick. Had on your truck boots when they had the pull-up boots. They didn't have the hard boots like you have now. But let's get us a broom and an empty milk carton, and we'll play hockey. Well, I don't know if you remember, but Gary Watson, they called him Too Tall. That was his nickname. Well, he and I were playing. Well, I'd bump him into the wall, and he'd bump me back. Well, it got kind of rough, but it was all in jest. It wasn't, nobody was mad, so. Somebody mentioned something about a fight at the hockey game. I said, we can do that. And Robert Carmen, I'll never forget, I've never heard a man laugh that hard. We went in the locker room, got 2 towels. We wrapped the towels around our hands for boxing gloves. And we went to it. Well, Too Tall, his arms was a foot longer than mine, so he could just hold his arm out and hold me off. And whenever he could hit me at will, well, I had whelps all over me. Well, the floor was slick, couldn't stand up, so every time he'd hit me, it'd knock me down, and I'd get back up. And I had come and said, "Son, you crazy." He said, "He knock you down 5 times, you get up 5 times. I said, "I ain't never seen nothing like it." I said, "Carmen, I don't give up." But he did. He beat me like a drum. But that was some of the good times we had. And, as far as the routine station duties and the little special quirks they had, I'll get them as close as I can. But I know at Station 5, Friday was yard day. You didn't mow on Wednesday. You didn't mow on Thursday. And if it was pouring down rain, the yard got mowed Friday. Friday was yard day. Thursday was the bedroom. Take everything out of the bedroom, sun the mattresses, thorough cleaning, kitchen, stove. You pulled the stove out. You didn't just wipe it off or mop around it. You took it out. Window day, that was fun. They had the Bonami soap. They'd soap it up, put it on the window and let it dry and then buff it off. And it would not streak. God, it'd better wear your arm out rubbing on those windows and so forth. As far as the union is concerned, the local was active in my early years in the fire department, and Fred Lawrence was the president, and I was a member, and they were fighting for things or pushing for different helmets, a safer helmet. It wasn't UL listed, it wasn't approved by anybody, just a plastic, something to stick on your head. As I moved up in the ranks of the fire department, starting at battalion chief, you could no longer, or they didn't encourage you to be a part of the union, so at that point I lost my membership. As far as the best rank that I enjoyed the most, I'd have to say battalion chief. Captain was a lot of fun, but you were still pretty much part of the firefighting crew, which was nothing wrong with that. But at battalion chief, you had some command experience, managing the fire scene, actually supervising the company officers. So the battalion chief rank was, well, it was a good groove to be in. My crew at Station 5 especially, we cooked every meal, ate together, said the blessing together, cleaned up after the meal. So it was very close-knit. Well, as far as what's important, as far as sitting down together for a meal, as opposed to going out to eat or eating different times and so forth, it's kind of like your family. It's a time when you sit down. Some things you discuss at the table is really not the appropriate time or the subject to discuss it, but you get to know people, their habits. As far as the cooking goes, some could cook and it was just out of this world, and then others were, you think, look, well, I don't even know why you cook. It ain't fit to eat. But it would give you a chance to chip in to help somebody if they needed help, especially a recruit right out of training, didn't know how to cook, didn't know what to do. It gave you a chance to bond and to really get to know the people and their home families. The topics of discussion varied from what we did at the training center that afternoon, or a drill that may be coming up. The topic of what was cooked for supper and what was good and what wasn't good to eat. Oh yeah, I love to cook. My mother, when at this fire station, cooking was right down my alley. I like to cook for large numbers of people. Matter of fact, right now I can't cook for just me and Vicki. I've got to cook for 8 or 10 at least. But yeah, country style steak, that was my favorite. I made a good, the BLTs. I made some of the best baked beans in the world. Put a little mustard, ketchup in it, some onions. I fixed, I don't know, pork and beans, how many ways they can be fixed, but I've fixed them about every way you can fix it. Well, my opinion as far as the cubicles versus the open bedrooms, just like the showers. I mean, it's all in the culture that you're brought up in. And, you know, open bedroom, some went to bed early, but we respected them, cut the light out. We still watched TV, and they still some laughing going on, but didn't seem to bother anybody. The cubicle seems to isolate people some, but I understand the privacy issue of you roll over in the bed and you see somebody, or somebody has to get up to use the restroom at night, disturbing people. But I'm just old school, and some of the, just like the shower, I had a common shower and they had a big window. Well, you slip the screen off, and when somebody's in the shower, you get a 5-gallon bucket of ice cold water and chunk it in on them. We can't do that because they got a personal separate shower, so it cut out some of the fun. As far as downtime at the fire stations, we used to discuss family situations. We'd brag on our children. We'd complain about our wife. We knew everything about that went on in their private life, or just about everything. And to be honest with you, since I've retired, I've been to some of the stations, but they don't have as much downtime due to riding calls. Call level's gone skyrocketing compared to what it was when I was there. But even with that, I really don't think that they're as close knit. I think they care about each other. I think they do a good job and they look after each other. But the close knit, as far as, yeah, I know Larry and his wife Jane and his daughter and his 2 sons, Carl. I call them by name. I don't think they have a clue whether they're married or not, much less what their wife's name is. When a retiree visits a fire station, I think it's critical. The retirees have put in a lot of time, effort, and energy to make the department what it is today. And hopefully the young folks now will carry on that tradition. But it means so much to be recognized by a young person that I've had them to come up to me in the grocery store. I've never seen them before. I said, "Chief, how you doing?" I'm going, "Oh, this is kind of weird." The other thing is, it's unusual. It makes me feel different because I'm saying, well, who's driving the truck? Ain't none of you kids, y'all don't even have your driver's license. They look like children. And they're driving the fire truck. So that's part of getting old and getting into the retiring mode. It's hard to turn loose of how it used to be. First big fire that I was on was, I believe it was HQ. It was kind of something like Home Depot out on High Point Road. And myself and Andy McFarland took a 2.5 inch through a window and up a staircase. And the fire, you couldn't stick your head above the floor level because the fire was coming across. Well, if you put the nozzle to the left, the fire would come from the right. You put it on the right, it'd come from the left. And so our air pack alarms went off, and I remembered from my days in training, if you get lost, get in a situation, follow the hose line. Well, I didn't know that the hose line, it didn't come up the steps, it come across the banister. So when I followed the hose, I fell through a display case. I didn't get hurt, but we went outside and went through that window, and that was it got your attention. Anybody says they wasn't scared, something's wrong, and it could be something to do with telling the truth. Yes, I've been scared. There've been a couple. I've been scared as a command officer, scared for my people. We were on a house fire on Martin Luther King, and it was a 3-story house. You smell it burning as soon as we left the station. There's supposed to be a little 9-year-old boy on the 2nd floor, and I'll never forget, it was Kyle Stewart was there, and J.E. McCarter and his crew. When you know he's a firefighting fool, they're going in. But the fire kept getting worse and worse, and it was coming out of the roof to the point where I said, "Where are you? What are you doing? Are you making any headway?" Well, I couldn't understand a word anybody was telling me, so I got them to pull the air horn to get them out. If a kid had been on the second floor, he wouldn't have made it through the smoke, much less the fire. If he was up there, smoke would have taken his life before the fire even started burning good. So, and I got a little talking to by J.E. If you'd have just give us about 3 more minutes, J.E., I didn't think we had 3 minutes. I was not going to risk losing the whole company over what may turn out to be a recovery. But yeah, I've been several times of being antsy. Oh yeah. I haven't prayed before I went into a fire, and I'll tell you why. It's not much of an excuse, but most of the time you didn't have time. Trying to get your air pack on, trying to figure out who you were going to pair up with to go in to do the attack, and it was more of an impulse, but I'm sure it helped, or may have made things go a lot better, because I believe in prayer. The medical calls came into play in 1977. I was fortunate enough to be instrumental in gathering up and getting a list and purchasing, or making the request to purchase the medical equipment that went on the squads, and also help write the specifications on the very first 3 squads that were purchased back in, I believe it was December of '77. I remember just about every one of them, to tell you the truth. I think once you are exposed to the smell, the sights, the sounds, I don't think you ever forget it. We responded to, and I don't know if I need to use the name or not, but the last name was a little girl, was 9 years old, and it was a medical call. She had went outside, she'd been out of school sick, and she went outside down a long cement driveway off Shady Lawn to get the newspaper, and she just collapsed. And I remember Butch Josie was on the EMS unit, and I didn't know, I mean, I had medical training, but I didn't know what in the world to do other than check her pulse and stuff, and Butch said no. He picked her up in his arms and said, "Let's go, we got to go now." So, and her last name was Pickard. Why I remember all that, I don't know, but yeah, I remember a lot of the wrecks, the burn victims, suicides. It stays with you. As far as dealing with the trauma and the tragedies and the bad days that people have that you're right in the middle of, I don't think they handle it real well. I think they handle it well. And you know, you're not the macho, hey, I don't have any emotions, I don't have any feelings, I just did my job, don't bother me. Oh yeah, it bothers me. I hope that they're giving the firefighters the support that they need, whether they want it or not is irrelevant. I think there have been situations where firefighters have lost their jobs due to alcohol, drugs, and a lot of it, I believe, is due to the fact that they never quite get over. And you have 3 small children to die of asphyxiation in a house, and you carry them outside and try to resuscitate them. How do you forget that? But the help was not there. It was part of your job. You sucked it up. You did it. And not only is drugs and alcohol played a part in ruining some careers, we've had a couple of firefighters commit suicide. Some of it may not be fire related. It could be family issues or so forth, but the family issues may have came from some of the trauma and things that the firefighters are exposed to. The biggest one was downtown Greensboro, and Davie Street fire. I was off duty, and Ricky Willits called me, and It was around midnight. I'd been in bed an hour, so I was asleep. And he said, "Need you to go get your crew together. Greensboro's on fire." I'm going, "What?" I thought he was playing a joke on me. So he said, "No." So I lived out on Fairside Drive, out close to Northeast High School. I could see it from my house. And so that was a big deal. The fire was jumping streets and setting the awnings on fire, the canopies and so forth downtown. And I'm surprised that we got it stopped. That was a major fire. Also, I'm very surprised that we did not lose any firefighters. That fire was dangerous. The explosion that occurred, it blew the fire across the street. It's a miracle that we didn't have somebody critically injured. Well, the only thing that I can remember as far as an event that was really scary, we were checking a house. It was on a house fire. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And we were checking the bedrooms, and we'd always talk to, sometimes the people would get in the bathtub and so forth. We were checking. And I laid down on the floor, and the smoke had started to come up just a little bit. And when I laid my head down, when I raised up, there was a cat that had died in the fire, and it was sitting there with his eyes open, and I about had a heart attack. That's the closest thing, but no, I've never been lost or I haven't been injured on a fire to amount to anything. At 9/11, when it occurred, I was at Pinecroft Sedgefield. And I heard it come over my car radio. And they said it was breaking news, and I thought, well, that cannot be happening. So it was really shocking to me. Something, and they said this second plane had hit, and I thought, this is not good. As far as affecting me, it's hard to imagine. It's almost in the same category as losing a child, one of your own children. You wonder why did this have to happen? People that are evil, it seems like they live forever and they enjoy life to the fullest. And the ones that are always wanting to help somebody to do the right thing are the ones that get hurt or killed first. Every time I think about it, it's like, I wonder what was going through their minds, or what were their last thoughts. Well, there was as far as a mentor and someone that I really looked up to, it wasn't just one person. A lot of times they'll say, well, it was this person right here and he did this. Well, I was fortunate enough, I had several. A couple that come to mind is A.C. Farmer. I know nobody has anything bad to say about A.C. Farmer other than he'd worry you to death about learning your equipment, just like Gary Church. If you go back and look at the people that were on their companies, those are the ones that were being promoted. They knew their equipment, knew where it was and how to use it. Territory. A.C. Farmer wouldn't ask you where Warren Street was. Yes, off Spring Garden Street, where does it go from and to? The jump streets, block numbers. And he was a fair man. He was a good person. Not just as a supervisor, but Jerry Cox. I was the assistant training supervisor. I just made battalion chief about a little less than a year, and I was transferred to fire prevention. And I didn't know what code book they used, and everybody in there had more. Well, if they had a day's experience, they had more than I did. But I was going to be their supervisor. So when I went in, I wasn't certified, nothing. So I had to lean on Jerry, and he could have turned his back on me and I wouldn't have blamed him a bit. He had more to do than he could possibly get done, but he always took time to explain stuff to me. Sometimes he'd explain it more. Well, I really didn't need to know that much about it, but he did. He took a lot of time with me. I'd get behind, so far behind. I was trying to go to school at night when I got off work. I wasn't smart enough to keep up because I had to work during the day and then go back to school. He'd help me with evaluations. He'd write stuff up for me. So he helped me along the way. I would recommend rotating fire personnel to different divisions for a number of reasons. Everything's not about the line or fighting fire. If you don't have inspectors and fire prevention personnel to check the buildings, there could be violations that could hamper or injure or kill a firefighter when the time comes to respond to that facility if it hadn't been inspected. Training. There's so much to learn to get a big picture of what makes the fire department, what makes the wheels turn. It's like the guys that work in the garage. I was supervised over the maintenance division. Well, I got some good news and bad news. Those people, if they don't do quality work and get it fixed and fixed right, how are you going to get to the fire? So if they're not doing their job, you're going to suffer. Same thing with logistics, doing the research on equipment. Of course, they had help from other people, but I think if you go to eat, and I think that's what helped me in my career. It was either that or they transferred me from training, fire prevention, to the line, to try to find something I could do and I was good at. I think they said, well, you know, this ain't working out. Let's transfer him to fire prevention. Maybe he'll work out something over here. Was the fire department worth it? And would I do it again? Absolutely. I raised a family, sent them to college, got a good retirement, hadn't missed any meals, and had a good time doing it. It wasn't all a piece of cake. There were some ups and downs and some situations and some nights that I stayed up all night trying to get reports done. Budget was a killer. We don't have so much money. Where's it going to go? Who's going to get it? And it got to the point at one time that I said, the only way I know to cut any more out of the budget is to close Station 7 for 6 months so we don't have to pay the water bill and light bill. There's no more money there. And they'd tell you how much the increase was going to be for Duke Power for the power bill. They say it's going to be 4.5%. You add 4.5%, that's the number. How you going to cut it? I can't tell Duke Power, well, we don't think you need a raise. So there's a lot of advantages of moving around within the department. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would do anything different. It worked out really well. I can't think of anything that I would do any different.
That's good.
As far as proud moments in the fire department, I had so many, I can't name them all. Obviously, when you get promoted, that's a really good time to know that you can accomplish and move up in an organization. I worked for 5 different fire chiefs. I was hired by Buck Wouche, who didn't want to hire me. And I had Captain Paul Brown pulling for me. My father-in-law at the time was a police officer, and he'd go by the station and have coffee and stuff with Wouche and said, you need to hire my son-in-law, he needs a job. And Wouche's quote was, I don't need another damn Culbreth. So my Uncle Tom helped me out a little bit on the backside of that. But Well, one of the biggest changes for me and during my career was the open cab. Engine 5 was an open cab, and it was cold as whiz riding calls, and the only heat you got was from the side panels of where the engine was. And they go to the closed cab and air condition and heat, and then headphones. Everybody had their own walkie-talkie. I mean, it just one improvement right after the other, and it made it better. I think a successful firefighter is a firefighter that is genuine, has a good heart, cares about people, and refuses to give up and take no for an answer. If you work hard, steady, keep the faith, you can make it. My health, since I retired, I've had, of course, I had a heart attack in March of 2002. That's what helped me decide to retire. Since then, I've had 3. I had stents put in. That's pretty much taken care of for right now. I ruptured my Achilles tendon in my left leg. It just snapped in 2, so they had to go in and repair that, and that was 6 months in a cast. I've had both knees, total replacement in both knees. They're working pretty good. I had prostate cancer. So I had robotic surgery, which was fairly new. It wasn't experimental, but it was new at Duke. And I still have cancer. Evidently, when they took the prostate out, the cancer cell was split in 2, and they couldn't take it all the way out. It's not like taking 2 foot of your intestines out when there's only 2 inches that's cancerous. You can't do that with the prostate. So my PSA's gone back up, but it's going up slowly. Doctor doesn't seem to be too worried about it. They don't know where the cancer is, but they know it's showing up in my blood. So most of the cancers that firefighters have are job related. And I recently had 2 blood clots in my left lung, 1 in my right lung, and I had to do surgery on my legs. I had a blood clot above my kneecap up to my groin. And that was quite an ordeal, but other than that, I'm doing fine. I mean, it sounds like a lot, and I have been through a lot, but, you know, I look around and there's people, I complain about my legs sometimes hurting. There's some people that have never walked. There's people that are in constant pain. So I've got a lot to be thankful for, even though I've been through a lot. There's a whole lot more to be thankful for than to complain about. Well, I'd like to be remembered as having an open door policy. Unless it was a confidential phone call or a meeting with someone, my door stayed open. And it didn't matter how busy I was. I felt like if I was important enough to that person for them to come see me, they deserve to see me now, not that I'll talk to you later. And I've had some people that really needed to talk to somebody. And I felt very blessed and fortunate that they thought enough of me to come see me. So having an open door policy and treating people like, not like I want to be treated, but I try to treat people like I want somebody to treat one of my kids. And that's pretty strong. Well, I'd like for my family to that I love them, and they're the most important thing ever. That is tough. What I see is, as far as what's being done, I've seen it, and I don't know that you have, or Haney has, Harold. There's people that have come out here for interviews that I would have bet my life on would said, I'm retired, I ain't got time for that bullshit. I don't have nothing to say. And it's like the retiree breakfast. The attendance has gone double. Firefighter club meeting, double. And the whole atmosphere, the whole, I don't know what word to use, the mood that people have, they're getting together and talking, whereas before you never, I know. I think this is going to have a major impact on the way the retirees feel about themselves, about the way they feel about the fire department. And I think it's going to bring some, not all of them. You're never going to get 100% from firemen, but I think it's going to bring some of them out of their shell, and it's going to help them mentally and physically. I believe it's going to help them. I've heard too many comments. I mean, just, you know.
We hope you enjoyed watching these documentaries. It was our goal to share and preserve the memories of our retired Greensboro firefighters. It is our desire that these documentaries will inspire future generations to continue the brotherhood, sisterhood, and camaraderie while always striving for excellence in their careers. While fire apparatus, equipment, and technology have improved, several things will always remain the same. The courage and bravery it takes to mitigate natural and man-made disasters will always be a part of the job. Although our retirees are no longer a physical part of the GFD world, a giant piece of each retiree's memories have been shared with you today. These memories will be in their hearts and minds forever. A special thank you goes out to Captain Harold Haney for his many long hours of recording and editing. Thank you, Harold. A job well done.